Hi, welcome to Anaprime Recap. You have been cursed and are destined to suffer until the end of your life. To free yourself from this cruel fate, you must abandon your family and go in search of a powerful spirit, who is the only one capable of healing you. In today's video, we will explore the adventures of the anime Princess Mononoke. In ancient times, the earth was covered with forests, where the spirits of the gods lived. Ashitaka is the prince of a village. He and his faithful squire, an oryx named Yakuru, were responsible for ensuring the safety of the residents. One day, his sister Kaya informs him that there is something strange in the forest. As the girl and her friends return to the village, Ashitaka goes to speak with an elder to find out what is going on. Minutes later, a demon appears and walks towards the tower. Yakuru was there waiting for the young man, and is now paralyzed with fear. As Oryx was about to be devoured, Ashitaka shoots an arrow at his side to make him scared and run away. The demon destroys the watchtower, but the prince manages to save the elder and escape. Ashitaka notices that the monster is heading towards the village and goes after it to try to stop it. The sage instructs him not to let that creature touch him, for it is contaminated by the curse. The young man enters in front of the demon to try to lure him to another place, but the animal spots Kaya and her friends, and goes after them. Ashitaka tries to talk to the demon, asking him to go back to the forest and leave the village alone. Then he shoots an arrow into the monster's eye. The creature attacks him back and ends up managing to grab the young man's arm. Ashitaka breaks free and is ready to destroy his opponent with an arrow. But when he looks again, the young man realizes that the monster was a wild boar covered in disgusting leeches. He then shoots an arrow into the animal's forehead. Meanwhile, his arm burned from being exposed to the curse. After the boar's death, the villagers approach the prince to help him due to his wound. The sage woman appears and asks Kaya to pour water on Ashitaka's contaminated arm. Before dying, the boar makes a promise. He says that humans will feel his hatred and suffer as he suffered. Then his flesh and organs melt away, leaving only his skeleton. That night, the sage woman consults Ashitaka's fate. The young man's right arm was gripped by the curse. The elder woman reveals that the infection would spread throughout the young man's body, causing great pain, and ultimately, killing him. She shows him an iron ball that was found inside the body of the boar, which had made a long walk from the west to reach that village. According to the woman, that was what tore the animal apart inside and caused so much hatred in it, turning it into a demon. The sage claims that Ashitaka could not change his fate, but if he wanted to try, he would have to go to the lands of the west, where something evil was happening. That way, he could find a way to break the curse. The young man cuts his hair and prepares to leave that village. He takes Yakuru and leaves. Kaya runs to him and gives him a crystal dagger, so her brother won't forget about her. After abandoning the tribe, Ashitaka could never return. After a few days of travel, he arrives at another village, where a battle is taking place. Some warriors try to kill him and the young man counterattacks with his arrows. However, his cursed arm is thirsty for blood. With a single arrow, the young man rips off the arms of one of the opponents. Then he cuts off another warrior's head. He continues his journey and arrives at a market. While exchanging a small gold nugget for rice, a man named Jikobo approaches and tries to get the gemstone. Ashitaka leaves and the monk runs after him. They are being followed by 3 armed men and Jikobo advises the young man to run, because surely they wanted to rob him. That night, they camp in the forest, and as they eat, the young man tells about the demon boar that attacked his village. Jikobo says that at the west there was a place where the forest spirit dwelt. Maybe he could rid the young man of that curse. The next morning, Ashitaka and Yakuru depart there. On the mountain, a group of people were being attacked by wolves. Along with them was a girl named San, who also wanted to destroy those people. However, humans carried firearms and managed to fend them off. What they didn't know is that those wolves were just puppies. Seconds later, Moro, the mother wolf, appears and takes down most of the humans. Lady Eboshi manages to hit a bullet in her neck. Then a man sets fire to the animal, which ends up falling off the cliff. While trying to cross the river, Ashitaka encounters 2 men who had been knocked off the mountain. They were still alive, so the young man pulls them out of the river. On the other side of the waterfall is Moro. The wolf was badly injured and her children came to help her. The girl who had been raised as her daughter drinks the blood from her neck. At that moment, they spot Ashitaka. The young man asks if they are gods and if that was the forest spirit realm, but the girl climbs on the back of one of the wolves and leaves. When he returns to Yakuru, he encounters a Kodama, the tree spirit. Kuroku, one of the men he had rescued from the river, wakes up. He is afraid of that creature, but Ashitaka calms him down by saying that Kodamas bring good luck and health to living beings. The prince asks permission to cross the forest, so dozens of Kodamas appear to show him the way. The man is still afraid and says that they should go back, as no one was able to get out of that forest alive. They arrive at a lake surrounded by trees. Ashitaka looks around and sees a group of deer passing by, but something intrigues him. At that moment, his cursed arm tries to attack the animal, but Ashitaka manages to control it. He pours some water for the wounded and they continue their walk. Minutes later, Kuroku reveals that his arm was healed. The group finally makes it through the forest and arrives at the village. The young man realizes that this was no ordinary village. In fact, it was known as the City of Iron, as they used sand ore to manufacture metal. When they arrive in town, they are greeted by the villagers, who are curious about Ashitaka. Gonza questions the young man about how he managed to cross the forest, but Toki appears and says he should thank him, as it was the guard captain's job to protect those men and Gonza was not able to fulfill his duty. At that moment, Lady Eboshi appears and asks Gonza to take the stranger to the island, as she wanted to thank him. That night, during dinner, the men say that the iron that was in the sands of that place suddenly disappeared, so they had to go to the forest to get more. However, Nago the boar was angry that they had devastated the forest and attacked them. At that moment, Lady Eboshi appeared with her armed men and set fire to the forest. Hearing this story, Ashitaka understands why that wild boar that attacked his village was so angry. After dinner, Lady Eboshi calls him to her room and asks why the young man is wandering around those lands. He shows her the wound on his arm. The curse was already spreading through his body. He also asks if she knows about the metal ball that was found inside the boar's body, and the woman invites him to her garden. Upon arriving there, he finds a group of bandaged people working on the production of shotguns. Those were lepers who had been abandoned by their tribes. The milady welcomed them and gave them a second chance so they could live. Ashitaka is revolted to discover that the woman had shot the wild boar and intended to manufacture more firearms to destroy the animals in the forest. His cursed arm wants to kill her, but the young man knows that this would not end the curse and would only serve to cause more deaths. The woman shoots in the middle of the forest to test her new weapon. She notices the presence of creatures that every night go to the outskirts of the city to plant trees, in an attempt to restore the forest. Lady Eboshi asks Ashitaka to stay on the island and help her kill the forest spirit. That way, they will be able to exploit all its resources and make that city rich. Hearing this, the young man gets furious and leaves the woman. In the mountains, the wolf princess prepares to attack the island. She wishes to kill Lady Eboshi to prevent her from destroying the forest. As Ashitaka prepared to leave town, he felt the girl's presence. Her wolf brothers help her invade the island. When passing through the gates, she runs across the roofs as the guards try to hit her with their shots. The young man runs after her, to prevent San from being killed. He asks the girl to step back, as there were several armed men waiting to kill her. Ashitaka begs her to return to the forest, but despite this, the princess runs towards the woman and ends up being hit. San falls off the roof and is shot in the head. Dozens of armed men prepare to kill her, but the young man throws a wooden stake in the way and prevents them from approaching. The princess soon gets up and tries to attack him, but the young man dodges and she runs towards the woman. They exchange a few blows and Ashitaka is completely enraged. His arm curse increases and gives him superhuman strength to the point that the young man can bend Gonza's sword. He then walks up to the women and interrupts the fight. San bites him so he would let her go and the cursed spirit manifests. Lady Eboshi attacks the young man and inflicts a wound on his face, but he counterattacks with a blow capable of knocking her out. Afterwards, he does the same with the wolf princess. Ashitaka delivers the woman to the villagers and informs them that he will leave town with San. As he walks to the gate, one of the women shoots him, making a hole in his chest. Still, he keeps walking and, after fetching Yakuro, he opens the gate and finds the wolves running towards him. The young man informs them that the princess is fine and that he will take her to the forest. On the way, the girl wakes up and Ashitaka ends up passing out due to his injury. The wolves are about to devour him, but San orders them to stop. Then several monkeys of darkness appear and start throwing stones at them, ordering the wolves to get out of there, because the human would be devoured by them. According to the apes, by eating the human they would take their strength and thus could prevent them from dominating the forest. San knew that idea was ridiculous and says that by eating humans, the apes would become something much worse than them. The wolves get angry and run to fend them off. With Yakuro's help, the princess takes Ashitaka to the lake, where the forest spirit lived. A few minutes later, the creature appears walking in the moonlight. He enters the forest and goes to the young man. His appearance now was of a deer with a human face. The spirit blows the branch that was under the young man's head, causing his wound to heal. When he wakes up, Yakuro is beside him and the wound on his chest is gone. However, the curse mark remained on his arm. Soon after, San appears and says that the Great Spirit wants Ashitaka to live. A few minutes have passed and a group of wild boars appears. They say they are there to destroy humans. The wolves approach to defend San and try to calm the situation with Akoto, the boar master. Moro reveals that humans have weapons that can destroy all animals in the forest. Therefore, the boars could not defeat them, but Akoto insists on fighting them, even though he knows that they have enough power to kill all the boars. San takes Ashitaka to the wolves' hideout. At dawn, he prepares to leave. Yakuro was waiting for him and a wolf was waiting to show them the way. Before leaving, the young man asks the animal to hand over his crystal dagger to San. The girl and her tribe were preparing to attack the camp of the warriors who had gone there to rip off the forest spirit's head. Lady Eboshi is the one in charge of the operation and Jikobo was at her side. They were building a trap to lure the wild boars out of the forest and destroy them. One of the wolves arrives at the scene and delivers the dagger to San. Then they go after Akoto to try to stop the wild boars from falling into the trap. Meanwhile, Ashitaka was about to leave the mountain when he hears an explosion coming from the Iron City. He crosses the river to get there. As he approaches the city gates, the women inform him that the samurais were attacking the city, while his men were in the forest. Kuroku appears and returns the bow and arrows the young man had left in town. He says he will go to the forest to get Lady Eboshi and her warriors to help them protect the city. On the way to the forest, the samurai start chasing Yakuro and Ashitaka. They shoot an arrow into the animal's leg, and they both fall off the mountain. The young man is so angry that the curse on his arm begins to possess him. In this way, he manages to eliminate the 3 samurai. He makes his way to the battlefield, and there he finds the residents of the Iron City, but Lady Eboshi was not among them. The woman had entered the forest with the aim of killing the Great Spirit. At that moment, Ashitaka spots a wolf emerging from the pile of wild boars' bodies. The animal was being crushed and the young man tries to help him. He says that wolf could help him find Lady Eboshi, so the men join the young man to get him out from under the boars. Then the young man says goodbye to Yakuro and asks the oryx to return with them to the village, while Ashitaka and the wolf go to the forest. San and his brother walk with Akoto to the lake of the great forest spirit, but the boar was badly injured from the battle. The monkeys announce that something evil is approaching. The bodies of dead boars appear among the trees. The humans were wearing their skins in order to trick Akoto into showing them the way to the forest spirit. San tries to warn him, but the boar believes his warriors have returned from the dead to join him in the great battle. The girl then asks her brother to warn Moro of the situation, while she tries to stop Akoto. The men approach and pierce the boar's belly with their spears. Then disgusting leeches emerge from his body and he starts to transform into a demon. One of the soldiers hits a rock on the wolf princess's head and she passes out. Meanwhile, the curse spreads and begins to consume her as well. Ashitaka and the wolf are on their way. The young man arrives at the lake of the Great Spirit, where he meets Moro. Minutes later, Akoto appears and is being chased by men in boar skin. The young man runs towards the animal to save San, but the humans try to stop him. Then, the wolves appear and defend Ashitaka. While trying to remove the girl from among those leeches, the young man is thrown into the lake. Moro wakes up. The wolf was about to die due to the gunshot wound to her neck. However, she uses all that is left of her strength to save her daughter. Lady Eboshi and her men arrive at the lake, and soon the Shishigami appears. He is the great spirit of the forest and is about to transform. The creature walks over water towards the boar and the curse is gone. Moro gives San to Ashitaka. Now both she and Akoto can die in peace. Lady Eboshi approaches and shoots it in the neck, ripping its head off. Bubbles of death emerge from its body, which are capable of absorbing the life of everyone wherever it goes. The woman hands the spirit's head to Jikobo. Then Moro's head detaches from her body and the wolf bites off Lady Eboshi's arm. Jikobo stores the spirit's head in a chest and flees. Gonza and the woman stay behind and are getting surrounded by the bubbles of death, but Ashitaka goes to rescue them and takes them to the island. The creature scatters across the forest in search of its head. Your fury is about to reach the stone city. Ashitaka and San go there and the young man asks everyone to leave the city, otherwise they would end up dead. Toki orders the villagers to run to the lake, but before they can evacuate the island, the spirit arrives and destroys the city. However, thanks to the young ones who went to warn them, most of them manage to survive. Their next mission is to find Jikobo and retrieve the great spirit's head. They find the man and try to convince him to return the head, but instead he tries to kill Ashitaka. San runs after the men carrying the chest, but they drop it and the object ends up in Jikobo's hands again. The ooze of death is surrounding the entire mountain and they have nowhere else to escape. The only solution is to turn the head back to the Great Spirit, and in the end that's what they do. Just before sunrise, San and Ashitaka manage to retrieve the head and give it to the deity. At that moment, the curse takes over the bodies of the two young people, but still, they do not surrender to it. The spirit regains its head and a great power is released. The men of the Iron City arrive at the lake, where they find the women who managed to escape. The great deity falls on the village and his spirit spreads throughout the forest. In this way, the mountain comes back to life and the forest is reclaimed. Yakuru is finally reunited with Ashitaka. The oryx had his wound healed, as were all those who were injured in that battle. The young man and the wolf princess were also cured of the curse. San tells Ashitaka that she loves him, but she will never be able to forgive what the humans have done. She then decides to continue living in the forest and the young man will stay close by and help the humans rebuild the village. Lady Eboshi is surprised to realize that San and the wolves helped save the island's residents, and even more surprised to find that the forest spirit was never her enemy. She promises that this time they will build a better village, keeping the peace and protecting the beings of the forest. So what did you think of this anime? Leave it in the comments below. And if you like the video, like and subscribe for more anime recaps. See you next time.